Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, more than 900 illegal migrants apprehended, while officials fear an international crisis. Public service promotions halted, and 2 people murdered overnight. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, 916 illegal Haitian migrants are expected to be repatriated by the end of the week. Immigration Minister Keith Bell says government is doing its best to avoid a humanitarian crisis as more migrants are expected to arrive in the coming weeks. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Hundreds of Haitian migrants risking their lives over the past few days just to make it to the Bahamian shores. And according to the immigration minister, he has information that more are on the way.
There are not only men, there are women and children that we have to get back home. And we intend to use all of our resources, all of our channels through diplomatic means to make sure that happen as quickly as possible.
3 interdictions resulting in the apprehension of over 900 illegal Haitian migrants over the last 4 days. Immigration Minister Keith Bell revealing that the latest incident occurred just last evening with 144 migrants caught near Flamingo Key. That number includes 129 males, 29 females, with the youngest being only 2 years old.
There was a number of doctors and nurses that were flown in, and they would have conducted a number of tests in respect to not just COVID, but all of the diseases, including tuberculosis. And to date, I can report that there is no indication that there is any concern at this time.
Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt is on the island arraigning the migrants, and repatriation is expected to begin Wednesday. But with this amount of activity and hundreds of migrants on the island, residents have raised concerns. There have also been reports of government searching for facilities to house these individuals before they are repatriated.
We had to ensure that we didn't spark an international incident. And even apart from that, as a Christian nation, we had an obligation to ensure that these people are properly housed, they're properly fed.
Bell confirmed that eventually the Universal Declaration Church allowed use of its church hall. Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper was on Inagua over the weekend and addressed a portion of those migrants.
We will help you, we will process you to return back to your home.
Also involved, Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell.
Simply to expedite the migrants going back home, because there's a humanitarian crisis that could ensue in Inagua if that isn't dealt with quickly.
If we don't allow due process to take place quickly and repatriate, then we move. That is what the Honorable Fred Mitchell was speaking about. That is why we have to make sure this process is done very quickly.
Haiti has been in a state of unrest for months now, leaving its citizens fleeing for nearby territories and recently making international headlines arriving in Texas. Bell says while the government is sympathetic with the people of Haiti, there is no talk of potentially allowing those individuals who enter illegally to stay. He said government must uphold the law when it comes to how a person enters the country.
If you enter a country illegally, there's a right way and a wrong way. And I think that we have to be very firm and very fair. If you enter our country illegally, then we have to ensure that our laws take effect. We have to turn you back. We have to take you back where you come from.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, the new government pumping the brakes on pre-election promotions in the public service. Minister Fred Mitchell says government must determine whether they were political promotions and if plans were afoot to plant poison pills in different government agencies. Giorgio Bain reports.
Minister of Public Service Fred Mitchell revealing that the Davis administration has put a halt to public service promotions to allow for an investigation into stacks of promotions it met upon taking office. Mitchell said officials need to determine if these promotions were earned or just political advancements to garner votes in the September 16th general election.
What seems to have happened, looking at the actions in the last weeks of the administration, was that there was an attempt, it appears, and I don't want to say it's so, till you actually know the facts, to put what you call a poison pill. So the idea was that it would hobble any new administration. And 2 things seem to be at play. One is to offer an incentive for people to vote for the past administration, and then secondly, a poison pill, so that presumably those who were promoted or hired were in quotes, supporters of the last administration and would therefore end up causing problems for the new administration.
Back in June, then Public Service Minister Brent O'Rourke announced that the government was preparing to make over 1,000 individuals enrolled in the 52-week program permanent. He also revealed that 1,600 people had been promoted, with hundreds more promotions pending at the Ministry of Works and the Department of Customs. Mitchell added that the cabinet decided to pump the brakes on dozens of promotions it met in the pipeline for the public service, but he didn't specify which areas. He said many were dated around the time the snap election was called.
I met in the Department of Public Service stacks of promotions, and I suspect that many of them are long overdue. And so I don't want to put a negative imprint on it, but I think just out of an abundance of caution it was decided to do that, and that applies to both the public corporations and the public services.
Asked how long these promotions are expected to be on hold, Mitchell said this.
I'm not sure, but in my case, I'm hoping the state minister is going to bring a paper on Tuesday, because I don't want people's lives on hold, and you have to be very careful. For example, you can't assume that everybody who was promoted under the last regime was an F&M supporter or hired. You shouldn't, because it just doesn't add up.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgie Obey.
The Bahamas Public Service Union isn't happy with the decision to halt public service promotions. BPSU President Kimsley Ferguson says deserving workers shouldn't be affected.
Deserving public servants, I don't agree with their advancement being placed on hold.
The announcement from Public Service Minister Fred Mitchell came a week after a document from the Water and Sewage Corporation indicated that promotions that went into effect on September 1st were rescinded.
My advice is that a very careful review is done and a particular position taken. It is my view that while you may want to review some stuff, it may be in the best interest of the government, in the eyes of the Bahamian people, to allow what has been processed to go forward.
The BPSU president asserts promotions already completed cannot be reversed by the government. He says those up for review haven't been completed. When asked how much time the union is giving the government to complete the review process, Ferguson said this.
From my understanding, it's quite a bit of them, and so I'm not particularly placing a time frame on the government.
As the country continues to battle the third wave of COVID-19 infections, Prime Minister Philip Davis says he will not serve as the competent authority.
What you could expect is that there will not be one person exercising the role of a competent authority. That's why I said by the 1st of October, perhaps we'll see a complete new regime that will take into account the promises that we would have made during the campaign. And so it will not be the Prime Minister.
Throughout the pandemic, former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis was heavily criticized for some decisions made and restrictions imposed in his role as the competent authority. However, Davis says it is his plan to transfer the responsibilities of the competent authority to officials in the Ministry of Health.
It ought properly be in the Ministry of Health. We're dealing with a health crisis. So why it is in the office of the Prime Minister even baffles the experts and doctors when we speak to them about where we are, first of all, where we have come from, where we are, and where we ought to go.
Well, partly cloudy conditions in the capital today. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with our first look.
Thanks, Christine, and welcome everybody for your first look at weather, brought to you by Ports International, trusted medical supplies for a better quality of life. Beautiful conditions outside, temperatures comfortable, 83 degrees, and it's dry. Few clouds outside, we'll call it mildly. Winds out of the northeast at 6 knots, and your face-like temperature in the mid-80s. Satellite view, frontal boundary that caused quite a bit of showers and thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas, now pushing into the central Bahamas. Showers and thunderstorms spreading across that area, but a dry air mass will be moving across the area for the next day or so. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on our news, 2 people murdered in separate incidents overnight, and the agonizing search for a missing taxi driver. Find out more after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
The elimination of fees for travel health visas will take effect on October 1st, according to an amendment to the emergency order released on Sunday. Following the government's announcement on fees, some Bahamians returning to the country complained they were still required to pay. Prime Minister Philip Davis says this was due to technical issues.
We understand that that there has to be some technical adjustments to the web process to enable us to achieve the objective which we set out to do. And we hope to be able to have that all sorted by the 1st of October, at which time you perhaps will see a complete new regime as well.
Travel health visas are no longer required for domestic travel. While in opposition, Davis promised the total elimination of travel health visas. He was asked if that is still his plan.
We're doing away with the costing. We're doing away with travel visas for Bahamians. That's my objective, and but it will probably remain in place for the visitors.
In other news, police are investigating 2 homicides that took place last night. The most recent incident was a stabbing near the intersection of Cordo Avenue and Lincoln Boulevard.
Shortly before 11 p.m., there was an altercation between a number of persons at the intersection of Cordo Avenue and Lincoln Boulevard, where 2 individuals were stabbed. Both of them were taken to the hospital in a private vehicle. One of the males later succumbed to his injuries. Fortunately, we have a male in custody who is assisting police with that investigation, and we should bring that to a conclusion pretty soon.
Just before that incident, officers were called to the scene of a shooting on Theodora Lane off Tonique Williams-Darling Highway. Police press liaison ASP Audley Peters says a man was shot and killed near a business around 10 p.m.
On the arrival of the first responders, the body of a male was found lying in the streets with wounds consistent with gunshots. EMS was called. They assessed the body and pronounced it lifeless. The particulars on that incident is somewhat sketchy. We're following some leads and we've canvassed the area. It seems promising that we will get a suspect in custody and bring this matter into a successful conclusion.
Meanwhile, a 37-year-old man will spend 3 years in prison and was fined $100,000 in connection with a drug bust in Stapleton Gardens. Tyrone Roll in the white shirt pleaded guilty to 1 count of possession of dangerous drugs with intent to supply, 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of possession of an unlicensed firearm, and 2 counts of possession of ammunition. On September 22nd, Roll was allegedly found in a home with a rifle, 5 unfired rounds of ammunition, and multiple packages of suspected marijuana valued at $250,000. Shifting gears, the family of a 79-year-old taxi driver who's been missing for 5 weeks fears he won't be found alive. Jared Higgs has their story.
Daddy, if you out there, come home. We'll appreciate that. We love you.
With his elderly father missing for 5 weeks, Robert Bethel Jr. fares the worst.
He always told us, I can outlive you all, but, it wasn't meant to be.
According to police, 79-year-old Robert Bethel Sr. was last seen leaving his residence at number 37 New Hope Drive at 4:30 a.m. on August 21st. Family members say they communicated with him by phone later that day. His daughter, Audra Bethel, says he had plans to do an airport drop-off, but they have no idea if he made that trip or what happened to him since. His taxi, a 2001 Toyota Regis, was also missing.
He always used to be on his phone. And then with his phone, being dead or not dead, but going straight to voicemail. My thing, that's what the mystery was too. So that means that somebody took you. Why?
Our News interviewed Bethel's family at his home. His children described him as vibrant and active. They say he enjoyed drinking Guinness and visited the number shop every day. The elderly taxi driver's family also describes him as a creature of habit who would arrive home early every day and sometimes be in pajamas by 5 p.m. His family has searched far and wide.
I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, what we going through. You know, we try to be strong for each other. You know, my sister called me and, you know, so we got to hold on, you know, we got to be strong. I tell her the same thing, but, you know, sometimes it's hard being strong.
A missing person flyer for Bethel describes him as 5 feet 9 inches tall and slim with a dark brown complexion. His children say there have been some reported sightings, but nothing concrete. There has also reportedly been no activity on his credit cards. As the days pass, his loved ones grow more worried.
How is it that nobody saw? Nobody saw anything? We don't know anything. Nobody can tell us anything. The police, even with phone records or whatever, we don't even know what it says last for.
If you have information on Bethel's whereabouts, you can contact police at 919 or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Reporting for Our News, I am Jared Higgs.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When Our News returns, government assists a man involved in an accident, and it's Monday Night Football. The details when Our News returns.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is Our News. Welcome back. The family of a Grand Bahama man in critical condition thanking the government for facilitating his transfer to the capital for urgent medical attention following an industrial accident. Jillian Gray reports.
It's a happy ending to a tragic accident. On Friday, 24-year-old Cameron Pennington was inflating the tire on a dump truck when it exploded, causing injury to his face and right leg. The urgent need for care left his family turning to the public for help.
This is a very serious time for me and my family. It's something that's unexpected, but it could happen to anybody's family. So just want to say thanks to everyone.
The Grand Bahama man needed to be transferred to New Providence for urgent care. However, Princess Margaret Hospital's ICU unit is at capacity, meaning his surgery and care would need to take place at a private institution. That's when the family made an urgent plea for donations on social media, prompting not only the public to step in, but also the government.
It's out of the ordinary because the policy is clear. Moving patients from the public healthcare system to the private healthcare system is not the responsibility of the government. But in this particular case, it's an emergency case, and we need to move immediately to assist this family.
The Rand Memorial Hospital is not equipped to deal with neurological cases. Physicians at Doctors Hospital are standing by to receive Pennington. Health Minister Dr. Michael Darville said this case is yet another example of why NHI must cover catastrophic care.
We believe that catastrophic care is absolutely necessary because emergency room physicians, surgeons, as well as medical professionals confront this on a daily basis.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. Tonight in sports, Marcellus Hall has the latest on Jazz Chisholm and Mike Strawn as their seasons continue. Take a look.
All right, thank you kindly, and welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The long baseball season finally winding down. And while the postseason is just around the corner, Jazz Chisholm and the Miami Marlins won't have that concern. They're in no way, shape, or form in any type of contention to make the playoffs. So this is just kind of wearing things down, kind of winding down and seeing how far they can go in terms of wins and losses. And in Jazz's case, trying to build up some good stats. Yesterday, taking on yet another squad. Let's see exactly how they did. As the regular season winds down, Jazz Chisholm and the Florida Marlins continue their mediocre season. Yesterday, taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. And just kind of playing out the string here. In this case, Jazz looking to stay strong as the season winds down, finishes up with a pretty good way. 2 for 4 on the day. It would come in a losing cause as once again the Marlins go down. 3-2 ends up being your final score. They remain 4th in the National League East with a record of 64-91. Taking a look at the Marlins' upcoming schedule, they roll now into New York to take on the Mets for a 3-game set, which starts tonight. In fact, that game will come your way this afternoon. We'll give you details on that tomorrow. Hopefully, Jazz Chisholm will do well in that one. Meanwhile, talk about slow starts to the season. Over on the NFL side of things, guy Mike Strawn and the Indianapolis Colts have not started the season off quite the way they intended. So far, they have yet to record a win on the season. They are 0-3 following their latest loss yesterday, going down to the Tennessee Titans 25-16. Strawn has been playing limited minutes, has only recorded a couple of catches on the season. As I said, the Colts continue to struggle heading into a game in Miami this next weekend for week number 4. Right now, 0-3, looking for their first win. They, too, are 4th in their conference. And, of course, Monday Night Football rolls your way this evening to round out week number 3 of the season. Taking a look at your schedule for tonight, rolling into town will be a pretty good game. Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys looking to start the season off red hot. They take on the Eagles, as we said, hosting the Eagles. Both teams are 1-1. With the Eagles first in the NFC East, Cowboys just behind them are currently sitting in second place. And there it is, your Checked On Sports for you here on this Monday. Full details of Monday Night Football and more coming your way tomorrow. Until then, I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Thanks, Marcellus. Still to come, Goombay kids get red carpet ready. The details after this.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. It's looking like a wet week. Greg is back in the Weather Center.
Thanks again, Christina. Welcome back, everybody, for your second look at weather. We're tracking 4 systems out there in the tropics. We have the remnants of Peter not really wanting to go away in the open Atlantic. National Hurricane Center giving that a high chance for formation. Should drift to the south before eventually moving back towards the north and into cooler waters. Then we're watching powerful Category 3 Sam, Hurricane Sam, staying to the east of the Leeward Islands. It should stay east of all the islands, as a matter of fact, and should provide us with some swells starting Wednesday into the balance of the week. So boating and beaching conditions will become a challenge. Should head out towards Bermuda, so those guys will be watching that. Then the National Hurricane Center giving 2 areas down there, Africa, very high chance, moderate to high chance for formation over the next couple of days. We will continue to watch those systems as they move towards the west. Beaching and boating forecasts for all areas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the northeast to east, 10 to 15 knot seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Low tide will be at 7:23 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Saturday. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. A star-studded affair at Fusion Superplex over the weekend as RTV's Goombay kids hit the red carpet. Giorgio Bain has that.
The stars of RTV's Goombay Kids shining bright on the red carpet as they geared up to watch the show's Season 3 premiere on the big screen. Javian Ranking, Kiara Jones, and Raven White gave us a sneak peek of what's in store this season.
When we went to film at Atlantis, there's this huge manta ray, and getting to see that was really, really cool.
It's been wonderful, and we really put hard work into the show, so I'm very excited to see it now that it's done. My favorite things we've done so far are the Pirate Museum, and it was very interesting, and I got to learn about all the pirates I never knew before.
Like this guy.
They were on our ship, the Blackbeard's Revenge, and they watched me climbing different things and walking past saying their lines.
And some cast members are just enjoying the spotlight.
How does it feel when people walk up to you and just know your name? I just feel so exciting, and it makes me warm up.
Show producer Stephanie Nihon said that Goombay Kids is finally taking shape after production had to be scaled down due to the COVID-19 restrictions during seasons 1 and 2.
It was so exciting. We were able to have, more cast, more crew. We filmed outdoors primarily, but we had 22 locations. So we were able to really take it to a scripted island adventure show, which you always wanted to do.
This season will also feature a few new faces.
You still would see some Sarge antics in it, you know what I mean? But of course on a lower scale, because I can't, jump kick the kids. I can't, break something.
Season 3 of Goombay Kids premieres on October 18th on RTV. Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Thanks, Giorgio, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.